Hello, my friend.
Hello.
Please introduce yourself to the people. Thank you so much.
No worries. My name is Anasetasia, and I am a singer-songwriter from Tamaki Makaurau.
Perfect. Thank you so much for doing this, by the way. I know this is kind of take two, by the way, guys, but no, I really appreciate you doing this. Let's just get straight into it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, when I messaged you to do this, you said, well, there's so much stuff we can talk about,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of hard for us to put it into, little boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So I can go, okay, let's talk about this thing. So I feel like if we just let the conversation kind of flow and do its own thing, then I don't know, we can get to some pretty good stuff.
Absolutely.
I think I just wanted to start with like the chronology of when I first met you.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in classical voice degree.
Yes.
So talk to me about, and I didn't know you very well then because I was young.
Yeah.
And I'd just come in. So what, and now you don't do that.
No.
You're a pop singer.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. So what inspired you, one, to do classical voice,
Mm-hmm.
and moving into the pop space, I guess, after uni?
Mm-hmm. So pretty much I started singing only at the age of 16. So it wasn't really something that I had thought about. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be an opera singer. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get into classical music. My brother, he was actually at uni, not at the same time. He went to uni and did a classical voice as well. And so I was exposed to that from him. So, and I absolutely love the music. I just thought it was so beautiful, and it was so, I don't know, it just made me feel so many things, and I didn't even know what I was feeling. I was like, oh my gosh. And so it was kind of something that just rolled on from there. It kind of happened itself. So when I started singing at 16, because, I first started singing when I was about 11, 12. And actually, funny story, I'm just going to go on a funny story. I auditioned for this play when I was at primary school. No, I would have been younger than that, like 10. And I remember getting up to sing, and I was super excited to sing, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to sing this little song. I think it was Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And I got up and sung, and I was super confident, because why not, and the guy who was, looking after the auditions pretty much said to me that I could not sing, and and that I would never make it in the singing business, and that really crushed me.
Yeah.
Like, that really, crushed my souls. And, not souls, I don't have one soul. At the age of 10, 11, or however old you are, that is such a thing to hear.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just kind of stopped singing. I only ever sang again when I was 12, and I cried on stage and ran off. And then I never sang again until I was 16. And from there, I had a singing teacher. Her name was Mrs. Hallett, and she kind of guided me through the whole thing. She was like, I really want you to start singing the show tunes. We love that. Classical music. We also love that. I wasn't opposed to it, but I wasn't like, yeah, let's sing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it never is really when you first get into it, because you're not exposed to it.
Yeah, and that was it. I was exposed by my brother, but that was always a male voice.
Yeah.
I had never really heard female singers until, he would show me, different singers, and, I would come across it on YouTube. But other than that, to hear myself sing it sounded a little bit weird. But it's okay. I still did it, and I began to enjoy it. And then I began to do exams. And then kind of the time came to go to university, and I was like, why not?
Yeah.
Absolutely, why not?
Did you do the conjoint vibes or no?
No, well, I did start with the conjoint in criminology, but I actually moved away halfway through.
Yeah.
I think I moved away in my second year. Yeah, I think I moved away in my second year. I moved up north to Ruakaka, where my other brother lives. And so I stopped all uni there. So all my teaching and all of that stopped there. But I learned so much. Like, from that little time I was there, not just from Morag, because I had Dr. Morag Atchison. Shout out to you. I had her as a teacher, and she actually taught me a lot, not just, with the voice, but just everything.
Yeah.
And you know how it is.
Yeah,
you know how
absolutely.
The whole world works. It was super interesting, and I obviously had my brother who guided me through a lot, and I found theory very hard. Everyone would know
Oh
that.
my god. Yeah, dude.
All those who went to uni with me know that I struggled. That was like a second language for me.
Yeah.
Because we were never taught that at high school.
Yeah.
Like, we never had the theory. It was never something that was pushed. And even if it was, there was no explanation. There was no why you need to learn theory. If someone had told me, Anna, you need to learn theory, otherwise you're not going to pass.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I would have been like focusing on that. But because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, then you don't know. So that's kind of where I was at, and the theory just got a hold of me, and I'm not ashamed to admit that I failed that paper like 3 times. And so after that, I was like, let's rethink this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's that.
That's cool. So when did you begin your oh man, just like the thought of theory just gets me every time, to be honest.
Yeah.
But so when did you start making that transition into singing what you sing now? What would you describe what you sing now as, actually?
Well, I personally don't think I have sit in a genre.
Yeah.
Because it's all quite different.
Yeah.
Yes, you could say it's like pop ballad. Sure, 100%.
Cool.
But then it's also, oopsie,
No, you're
great
good.
slur. It's also not, if you know what I mean. Like the 3 songs that I've released in my EP, they are very different.
Yeah.
Mother's Love is quite pop ballady. And then you have something like Free Me, which is still pop ballady, could almost be folk, not really, maybe a little bit of soul. Like, it's just mixed with so much. And I think, where the inspiration and where, not so much inspiration, but where I transitioned, I don't actually think there was ever a transition. I think I have always had it. I think I've always had it. Like, in my family, the music exposure was out of this world. We listened to so many different types of music. It was crazy. It is crazy. It's still crazy. Like my dad, we grew up listening to like the 40s and 50s and 60s. So I love all that stuff. Dean Martin, hallelujah. Connie Francis, Doris Day. That is like a love for me. But then my mom loves like Bob Marley and like reggae and, the 70s and 80s. But I
had all these influences coming at
everything.
you. Like, yeah.
And I
That's
have a
cool,
personal love for like the 70s and 80s. Like any time of the day, Womack and the Womack, that will wake me up. It's just that kind of music. So I don't think there has been a transition. I think it's just been sitting, waiting, to activate, really.
I think that's really interesting, and I think I've said it on the podcast before. There are, we as performers, I guess, are at the very soul of it, storytellers.
Yeah.
And there are some ways to tell stories that are, I would say not better, but work more than other ways. For example,
absolutely.
like, if you feel like you have something to say, perhaps a pop ballad is the best way for you to say that, or singing a leader is the best way for you to say that. You see what I mean? So, or even write, like, you sing a songwriter, so doing that yourself and not using somebody else's poetry is the best way for you to say that. So I think that's a really great thing that you've been exposed to so many different I guess influences, and you're able to channel that into different ways.
Oh, absolutely. I totally believe that, and I think it's very interesting that you say we can sing an aria or operatic song or whatever you're singing, and even though they aren't your words, and it's something that's been sung for years and years and years, and so many singers have sung it. It's how you sing it. It's how you sing it, and it's how you relate to it, and it will come across whatever you're feeling at the time. Will come across however you present yourself.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you remember in voice class, like it starts from the way that you walk on.
Yeah,
it's the way that you like strut your stuff, get on that stage, having that stage presence, having that confidence is the beginning. It's as soon as you walk on that stage, it starts. You know, and I think it starts way before then as well. Oh yeah, I mean, but from what people can see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Like from what people can see. But yeah, I totally agree. It's way back. I even think it's, I don't want to say days because, that's a bit much. But some people take days. Yeah, that's all good. But I remember like in voice class knowing on a Monday, it used to be on a Monday, knowing that I would be singing, I would think to myself, okay, I'm singing tomorrow. Like I got to prepare. I got to make sure I, one, know what I'm singing. 2, feel comfortable singing it. And 3, comfortable singing, knowing what I'm singing. Excuse me for a second. Robitussin. Knowing what I'm singing and being comfortable with the words. 9 times out of 10, they are not in English.
Yeah.
They are in different languages.
Yeah.
So I think to someone listening to you, like if you're going to be performing in front of, people that aren't, that don't sing classical music, all they're going to hear is a beautiful voice. All they're going to hear is something being sung in a different language. So it's how you portray yourself. It's the facial expressions. It's everything. And I think...
Do you think it's similar for the type of music you're singing now and performing now? Or do you think it's a little bit more receptive to audiences because they might be more familiar with the style and I guess the fact that it's in English, for example?
Yeah. No, I do. I do definitely think that, and I think it's, it's a no-brainer. It will be easier for people to understand because it is, if they are English speakers, if that's their mother tongue, it will be 10 times easier for them to understand because they can hear it and they can feel it. But I just think that, I don't know. I mean, with me, for the songs that I write, that I have written, because you know exactly where that's coming from, because you know where you were at the time while you were writing that, whether it be 2 days ago or 2 years ago, you know where you were at. And for me, like, all I hope for is that someone will hear that and be like, oh my gosh, I feel you. And not so much I feel you and your inspiration, but they take that on for themselves. Like, take for example, Free Me, one of the songs that I released. I want people to hear that, or I'm hoping that people will hear that and can relate it to their own life. It doesn't mean what the heck am I saying? It doesn't mean that free me is like, free me, get me out of here. It could mean like, I don't know, free me, get me out of myself, or free me from this job, or free me from something. It doesn't need to be the same free me as my free me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I actually had a lovely message from this lady. I'm so sorry, I cannot remember her name, but she messaged me on Instagram, and she was like, I absolutely resonate with Free Me, telling me all her personal, life, which I really appreciated. That's a lot for someone to do. And she was like, that really helped me, go through this hard time that I'm going through at the moment. And I just wanted to tell you that I appreciated that. Now, that for me was like it. That is like top tier.
Absolutely.
Bowing down. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like, that really made me, no, it wasn't even made me feel proud of myself. It wasn't even that. It was like, I can't believe something that I had written from
has
here.
impacted somebody?
Yeah, from the whatu, which means heart in Samoan, has helped somebody else. To me, that's like, whoa. That blew my mind. Like, and yeah, just to have someone, message me that just really, yeah, no words. No words.
Yeah. Wow. I wonder how different it is when, you sing and it's somebody else's, music and poetry that you're singing, and then, you've presented it in a way, and somebody comes up to you and says, oh, this has impacted me in this way. But when they're your own words, I don't know how, because I guess you've had both experiences.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and that's the funny thing is when I think about, anytime someone asks me, like if I'm doing an interview or, people just ask me, who's your favorite singer? Who's your favorite performer? And I always take a long time to think. And I don't know why. Because I'm like, girlfriend, you know who you love.
Yeah,
Just say it, But it's because I love so many things. But now I've actually had to think about my answer. And, and I know who to say. Like Sarah Bareilles. Oh my gosh. She is like top tier for me. Her song Gravity. I don't know if you know her song Gravity. She sings, I want to see you be brave. Anyway,
oh, okay, yeah, I got it.
Yes, that's her.
Yeah.
So her words to me just touch me on another level, and I have always been inspired by her. And so whenever someone asks me about that, I'm like, oh, her songs, her words just mean so much. So when someone said that to me, it was like, are you serious? Like I couldn't actually believe it. Not because I didn't think I was good enough. It's not that. It's I don't know. It's a buzzy thing to hear someone relate to your music that much. But yeah, sorry, I actually totally forgot what you had asked me there.
I've completely forgotten as well. No, you see what I mean? How it just kind of flows out?
Flows.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. That's actually really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. This music thing affects people. It's such a subjective art form that we do, and no matter what genre you're in,
Absolutely.
You can affect people in so many different ways. But you are also, what you do is impacted by things that have come before you, if that makes sense. Like, for example, you were saying that your parents surrounded you with so much music, and I call them Lightbulb Moments, and I've talked about it on the podcast before. Like, these things impact the way that you tell your story and give your art to the people.
Oh, 100%.
And if that's stylistically with your music or storytelling wise, it's all different. And we talked about your musical influences, but I think it's also important to talk about the other light bulb moments, emotional things that have happened to you, if you don't mind talking about it, things like that. I know we were talking about stuff that you want to discuss. And so what are some of those kind of emotional light bulb moments that have helped you create your songs and maybe help your singing?
So there have been a lot of those moments. And when I get emotion, I used to think, being emotional was a bad thing. And emotion always meant sadness or, crying or whatever. But actually, it's so much more than that. It's excitement and it's joy and it's happiness and it's confusion. And, it's all these different things. And I think, at my tender age of 23, such a tender age, I feel like I've just learnt so much from so many different things that have happened to me. As you know, I have a daughter. I have my little baby who just turned 5 in January.
Oh my gosh, adorable.
I know. She just started school last week, so it's been a big moment.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
So, thank you to me and her dad.
Let's go.
So both of us, having a daughter young, for anybody, having a daughter or a son, a huge thing, but having a child at a young age is another huge thing. And I think now looking back at it, it actually taught me so much. And I think with any kind of journey that anyone's on, any event that has happened in the past, sometimes we don't actually realize how huge it is until it's gone.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah. And then you look
absolutely.
back and you're like, what the heck? What happened? Do you know what I mean? And you reflect on it. And like, I can honestly say last year especially was a huge year for self-reflection. Huge. And I'm still self-reflecting. I'm still reflecting on a lot of things, really, the good and the bad. And I think it helps you to grow even more than you will already grow, just by age. It helps you to grow and acknowledge things that have happened, and it helps you to be a better person, I think. So when I look back at that moment, when all of that happened, when everything leading up to, her turning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so many things have taught me how to, 1, be a good mom, 2, be a good person, and 3, it's the roles that you play. Okay, I'm just going off on a tangent.
No, let's go. I love it. This is all important. You know what I mean?
It is. Yeah. It is very important. And, everybody's journey is different. No one will have the same journey.
No.
It may be similar. Sure, I'll give you that. But it's not going to be the same.
No.
And I think, something that I always talk about to my girls, I have a group of 7 girls that we've been friends for years on end, for yonders. And I often talk to them about this, the roles that we play in our lives. We are all very, very different. Not even just ethnicity. Like, I'm Samoan, another one's Tongan, another one's Indian, another one's Egyptian, Filipino. Like, we're literally all different. And a few of them, I'm not, but a few of them are actually immigrants. So we actually had this discussion last week when we were having dinner, talking about the different roles that we play in our own lives and how we can always come back together as, our group of girls and discuss all these things about the world and our lives and our families and how interesting it actually is. And so when I think about the roles that I play in my life, as I said, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm an auntie, I'm a godmother, I'm a cousin, all these things that not everybody has. Not everybody is that.
Yeah.
And I feel incredibly blessed to have all these different roles. And, although I sometimes feel that I'm not like living up to the roles as much as I could. And that's where self-reflection comes in. And I think to myself, okay, how can I be a better mom? How can I be a better auntie? How can I do things better? Because at the end of the day, you're not just you. Like, you're not just Anna. You are Anna, the sister. Anna, the blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And it's how you can make yourself better for you, 100. Because at the end of the day, and this is something I always say to myself, and I will say to everybody if you're listening, if you do not sleep in my bed, if you do not reside in my head, in my heart, don't say anything. Try not to take, don't say anything, but try not to take all those things that people say on board to heart.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you will only have yourself. You will lay in your own bed and you will go to sleep and you will shut your eyes and your own eyelids, Okay, it's getting weird, but
No,
do you know what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say? Do you know what
absolutely.
I mean?
I think it's such an important thing to discuss because our nature as not even just, artists, just performers, we look at other people's view of us and base ourselves off of that a lot of the time. I know I do.
Yes, yeah.
And just to, sit back and think, well, okay, how am I?
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah, absolutely. 100.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. How am I?
Yeah.
How am I okay? Do you know what I mean? Like, we need to...
I might not be okay with this person, but okay, is that just that person or is it me being rude to that person?
Yeah.
And it's okay if that person doesn't like me, but is that just their issue, which is totally cool? Or have I been mean to this person and can I rectify that relationship? Or should I just not think about it and just chill out? Because I've had that plenty of times and it just weighed on my head.
And it does, because we're human.
Yeah.
And it's natural.
Yeah.
Especially if, you're an empath or like you feel things so much more than other people feel things. And that's okay. Like, as I said to you before, like, I always thought that, being emotional was a bad thing. Being like, oh, I want to stop crying, I want to do this. But actually, it's a good thing. It's annoying sometimes because you feel everybody's emotions. And sometimes I feel it's hard for me not to take them on. If I see someone crying, sometimes I just start crying because
Yeah.
Because I feel sad that they're crying, and, something that my brother always told me, Mo, he always said, if something like that happens, you just need to ask yourself, that's a you problem. Is that a you problem? That seems like a you problem, or is that a me problem? Exactly what you were saying. Like, it's okay that this situation is happening, but you can just remove yourself. You know, like, you don't actually have to take that on board and feel it to the point where you actually start feeling those emotions for no reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
And,
it's a crazy.
And then it starts manifesting itself in various ways that, I guess in some ways can be helpful, but also detrimental. And,
sure.
Healthy emotions are really important.
Yes, for sure.
Have you had... It's such a weird one. And I was listening to another podcast and they were talking about it. These things, I guess, like, not necessarily all bad, but these experiences that you go through, they give you a certain edge in what you do. Like, and for us, it's singing and storytelling and all this kind of stuff. Do you feel like those experiences have, I don't know how much, but of course they would have impacted. How have these experiences impacted your singing and storytelling?
Absolutely, like 100%, because I personally, like, I'm only at the start of my songwriting journey. I have always found it very hard, very difficult to write. I love poetry.
Yeah.
And actually, one of my bestest mates, you probably know him, Jack Page.
Oh yeah.
He's actually releasing a poetry book, him and his good friend.
He's a genius, eh?
He is an absolute G.
Yeah.
He is the best. he's top man. Anyway, I didn't realize, and why I'm mentioning it is because I didn't realize how much I actually love poetry until he started reading me some of his poems, and the poems that are going to be in their book. And I just thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Like, this is actually so beautiful, even though there's no melody to it, there is no song. The words are just, it just went straight to my heart. And then it just made me think about, what you were asking, how have like the emotions that I have been feeling and events that have happened inspired my music. And I feel like if I didn't have those experiences, then I wouldn't be able to write. And that's just me right now. Like, I'm sure, later down the track, I could possibly write a song or write something, and I could never have felt what I am writing about. But for the time being, it's very relevant. And I think it makes it so much more beautiful because you know exactly how you feel because you've written that. You can remember where you were sitting. I mean, this is me. Like, I can remember where I was sitting, the pen I was using, whatever was happening at that time, I can remember everything. And so sometimes when you haven't heard a song in a long time, because Free Me, when I was speaking about before, I actually wrote that early last year in January, and I hadn't, looked at it until pretty much we got into the studio and started recording it. And I felt really emotional, which is natural, obviously, but I felt super emotional to the point I was like, why am I feeling so emotional? Like, I was actually questioning myself. And then I realized it was because it was written at a time where I had lost myself. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know anything. I felt like I didn't know anything. And that song was literally written, I think, within 5 minutes. And everything. It was the tune and the words. And I remember looking back at my songwriting book. My cousin actually got me a songwriting book for my birthday. Or just a book, but I used it as a songwriting book. And I looked at one of the first pages and there was like teardrops. Like the paper was like all wrinkly, and I was like, what the hickory dickory dock happened here? Like, why is it so weird? And then I looked at what was on the page and it was Free Me, and it was like scribbled and like just me writing, and I was like, oh my gosh. And it just kind of took me right back, and I was like, wow.
This was emotional release.
Absolutely. And it was, it's I do think it's a very beautiful thing when I think about it. But when you haven't thought about it in such a long time, and like I remember recording it in the studio, I was like, whoa. Like, it actually blew my mind. But yeah. Again, we're going off on a tangent.
No. It's these things are the process. Mm-hmm. Actually. And I think when non-performers or non-artists think about the process, they think about everything that comes before the recording and before the performance. But actually, it's during as well.
Absolutely.
Because you're not going to perform the song just one time and record it just the once. You know what I mean? It's a continuous evolution.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess for you, like, I could maybe use your example, Free Me. Mm-hmm. The Free Me that you felt when you wrote the piece might not be the same Free Me that is there 10 years down the line. Do you see what I mean? And it's exactly what you're saying with somebody else that hears it. Their Free Me is not the same as your Free Me. It all evolves. Mm-hmm. And I had the... I think I might have talked about it with Te Horere on her episode, but...
My gal.
Yeah.
My J, I love her.
I was talking to her about this when I was at this last opera school. Mm-hmm. I sang a piece by Britain, the second lute song. Mm-hmm. And there were so many, like... Opera school itself is, like, super overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Like, love it to bits.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So you have that. And then I was just going through such, like, a weird, like, emotional period. Mm-hmm. And I think this is quite good that I can do this. Like, I can... to a certain extent, just put that to the side while I work.
Yeah.
I'm just like, cool, this can wait. Mm-hmm. And I just like bury it in a little box somewhere, and I, hunker down and like focus. Mm-hmm. This is the work now.
Yeah.
And I remember in the final concert, I sang the second lute song, and as soon as I finished, I was, on the side of the stage, and everyone was clapping everything, and I go off stage and just immediately just burst into tears. And everyone was like, "Why are you crying? It was really good." I was like, "I don't know why I'm crying.
Yeah.
I have no idea." And yeah, it's just one of those weird emotional releasings. If you have something that's you might not even be conscious of it, but it's just been sitting there, and then one day it's just got to come out.
And it's a release. It needs to come out.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite beautiful that you say that, because some people, I feel like I never could do that. I felt like every time I sung, I was so emotionally involved in every single song that I sung that I'd just cry through the song. Sometimes, even I remember when we were at uni and some voice classes, I just felt so connected to the song. I don't even know why, because I didn't really, relate to it in my own life, but I could just feel this, oh my gosh, imagine if that was me. And I would just cry through the song. And I remember Morag asked me, why are you crying? I'm like, I don't know. I really have no idea. And now, I'm not going to say I've mastered it, because I have not, but it's definitely a lot better. It's definitely a lot better than it was before. And I did a gig at the museum last year. I think it was in July. My brother Mo and Ludwig, they were playing at the museum, and I opened for them, which was so amazing. I feel really blessed to have that opportunity. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, so it was the first time that I sung my original songs at the gig. And I thought to myself, you're good, Anna. Don't even worry about it. You are fine. And I got on stage, and I honestly was expecting myself to bawl. And it was, in front of a lot of people. Just everything, the lighting, the mood, just everything was there. The whole thing, the whole atmosphere was just perfect. It was beautiful. And I got up there, and I was wearing, I don't know if you saw my Instagram, the red dress, the red puffy dress. And I was like, you've got this, girlfriend. You can do this. And I got up there, and I didn't cry one bit.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I was like, interesting. Because I was definitely, when you have that lump in your throat, and you're like, oh, I'm going to cry any second. It's okay, guys, I'm going to cry. But I didn't. It kind of just sat there, and I got through the whole set. And I don't want to say I was proud of myself, because I wasn't proud of myself. At the time, at the time I was like, oh, I could have done this better. And we all know, it's the self-critique. We are our, the worst. I feel like we're our worst enemies sometimes. Oh, I could have done that better. I went too early there, all that stuff. But it was weird, because when I went off stage, I didn't think that. I didn't think, wow, you did amazing. But I didn't think, wow, you did bad. It was just this kind of, I did it. Do you know what I mean?
It just goes by in a blur, doesn't it?
It was just la, la, la. I just felt like I was in a different realm. And, when you come off stage, everyone's like, oh, well done, all of that stuff. So you kind of get caught up in that. But I think that's another thing, that I kind of want to touch on. It doesn't just have to do with singing. This is anything you do. I find that, when I think about the people that I've spoken to recently, my girls and a couple of my mates and stuff, it's very hard for us to say that we're proud of ourselves. It's very hard. Even me, I'm it's hard for me to say, good job, Anna. You did a great job. Well done. You can say whatever you want to say. But do you really think that in here? Do you really feel that in your heart? Do you? Because I know, personally, I don't. I could say to myself, I know you did such a good job today. Well done. But knowing in my heart, you don't feel that. And I think it's, I don't want to say it's a shame, but it's something that I really hope, people can say to themselves. They can say, you are amazing. You did a really good job today. And it's so easy for us to give it to other people. I could say to you, Sid, you are doing amazing. I'm loving this podcast series. I love it. But do you actually take that compliment on board? I don't know. I'm not within your heart. I'm not within you. I don't know what you're feeling inside. I could say that to you, and you're like, thank you so much. But do you actually feel that? It's a funny one. And I didn't think it was as common as it is. Pretty much.
Oh, I think it's a cultural thing.
Yeah, for sure. And it's,
there's a fine line, because we always want to get better. Mm-hmm. I think I don't know, I can only speak for myself, and everybody's different.
Yeah.
very recently, I've come into the kind of conscious knowledge of the fact that I'm a Fijian Indian opera singer, and there are no Fijian Indian. If there are no Fijian Indian classical singers or opera singers, I'm the first one. And I never, when I was in high school or anything like that, I never thought about it. I was just, I'm Sid. You know what I mean? As I should, you know?
Yeah.
But I say this because I am not necessarily proud of my singing. I'm happy that, like, I'm happy where I am with that, just as, like, Sid the singer.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are things that I want to improve on, of course. There are things I need to develop on, musicality, vocal technique, all of that stuff. But I keep that separate. But Sid is the Fijian Indian who is now an opera singer. I'm really proud that I've gotten myself from where I was to where I am now. And I think there's a massively fine line where people have to cross of, like, you know, being proud of yourself is important. But I guess, why are you proud of yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because, I'm not necessarily, like, I haven't made it as a singer. I'm just starting out. You know what I mean? There are things I want to improve on. But just to think back of, like, oh, actually, I came from this.
Yeah.
Learned it so late on. And I'm here. My parents don't have any music, you know, ability, anything like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, in that sense, I'm proud of myself. But in terms of Sid the singer, not necessarily. I think, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no,
but it's a kind of really, it's a really hard one to explain. It's really abstract.
And it's not so straightforward you think.
No.
You know, even when you go down this path and you're like, I am proud of myself, and then you kind of go on a different path. It's like, but why are you proud of yourself? And it's like, should you be proud of yourself? It's
just a snowball effect.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to be like, you know what, I'm just gonna sing the song.
You know what, I'm just gonna sing. You know what, never mind, everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like, and this is with everything, I find you can get so caught up in the whirlwind of life, one, but two, your own mind. Like, your mind is sometimes you get so busy and you're involved in so many things and you're talking with this person and sometimes you're just like, okay, can we just take a breather?
Yeah.
Like, can we just, like, pause for a momento and be like, is this really what I want to be doing? Is this really, like, what I need right now? You know, it's different what you want and what you need. And I've seriously had to learn that, like, in the past year. Like, sometimes what you want is really not what you need, and sometimes what you think you deserve isn't, because there is something better. Or there is something, even if it's not better, it's something that's going to teach you how to be a better person or be a better version of yourself. And at the end of the day, that's what you can be. You can only try and be a better person and be a better you. Like, I know that's so cliche, but it's actually so true.
It's so important. And
it's so true.
It's such a weird one, because I don't know. Yeah, it's such a profound kind of thought process.
Yeah, for sure.
To be like, to actually think for yourself.
Yeah.
And not think for yourself as in think with my own brain.
Yeah.
But actually think for your own well-being.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that's where I think people-pleasing comes in.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, those who knew me, I was a huge people-pleaser. I always wanted to be, like, doing what everyone wanted me to be doing because I wanted to be good. I wanted people to think that I was good. And this, you know, is from primary. Like, I remember, I have vivid memories of, like, me, like, sitting up straight and, like, always being a goody good and, like, being the first one there kind of thing. And I think about that in my adult life. Or, you know, not really adult. I mean, I know I am an adult. Let's be real here. But, you know, like, even when I was, like, a teenager, you know, being conflicted, like, do I people please? Do I do what people want me to do? Or do I do what Anna wants to do? And so I was always torn. Like, and I still was, even, like, a year or 2 years ago, I was still torn because I wanted people to be happy with the decisions I was making. And now I look back at that and I'm like, how stupid, how silly, what a silly goose, you know, because it's like, I was not happy.
Yeah.
Because I was doing things that other people wanted me to do. And, like, that is, like, my one biggest thing. And I tell my niece this, she's 16. She's just turned 16. I'm like, girlfriend, you do what you want to do. Do not fall into the trap of doing all these things just because people tell you to do it, number one. And especially if it doesn't make you happy. If you feel like it doesn't serve your purpose, don't bother. Do not worry, because at the end of the day, as I said, it always comes back to, if you're not living in my heart, if you're not laying down with me in my bed, if you're not paying my bills, all of that stuff. You could go on forever and ever and ever about that. But if it's not, then wake up quick, because it took me a while to realize that. And as I said to you before, everyone is on their own journey. Some are faster than others, some are slower, and that is okay. That is okay. It's
everyone's just different, and I'm a massive proponent of like things will be given to you when they are meant to happen, and you can't really force some things. I don't know. It's a weird kind of spiritual thing. Do you feel like you're a spiritual kind of?
100%.
Yeah.
I was brought up Catholic, so, I'm baptized and all of that. And I still do, talk to God. I'm not a practicing Catholic. I haven't been to church in a little while. But, that doesn't mean that I'm not Catholic anymore. I totally am. 100% am. And I, still talk to God. But I also am very spiritual. And that kind of spirituality has taught me a lot. Like when you say the word spiritual, that could mean so many different things.
So many things. That's why I use that word.
Everyone
takes
it differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely feel that, and I think I didn't realize that spirituality meant different things. To me, I was just like, back then, well, I would have been like 16, 17. I was like, oh, yeah, is it like with like ghosts and stuff and, all of that stuff? Because, you don't know.
You don't know, yeah.
Especially growing up in a Catholic high school, like, ghosts? It's only the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. That's the only ghost that we're talking about. But, as I've become older, it's natural. As we get older, we learn these different things and, who you hang around, and you are taught so many different things by everybody. And I think as you move on with life and you get a new job, or you move schools or universities or towns or whatever, they are all going to teach you something different. And I think that in itself is a beautiful thing. And I think I, again, haven't realized that until, last year when I was doing a lot of self-reflection, like how many things and how many people that I've met that have actually not so much changed me as a person, but have definitely influenced me, and not just me, but the decisions that I make, and the thoughts that I think. And I think, oh, that was two I thinks. I don't want to say I think again. Now I can't remember what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh, that's what I was saying. The people that you hang around will literally influence the person that you are.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
Oh, yeah. You are only as good as the people around you.
Absolutely.
Huge proponent of that.
Because it's true.
Yeah.
It's true, my friend. Like, I remember last year oh, yikes, that's how to get off. I remember last year, I had a little shindiggity dig. Whoa, can you hear that? Guys, I'm having some water, if you can hear. Yikes, I was like, glug, glug, glug. A little bit of ASMR for you. Anyway, what I was saying, I had like a little bit of shindig for the release of my EP, and it happened to be my birthday that week, so we just had a few drinks, and it was at this bar in Kingsland. Well, it's called the Kingsland. And my uncle was playing. So anyway, he asked me to sing, and I was like, oh, why not? It's my birthday. Why not? So I did. And my girls were there. All of my girls were there, as per usual, because they're always supporting me, always have my back. And they have heard me sing 10 million trillion times. I have known most of them since I was 5.
Yeah.
They have heard me sing many times. And they were videoing me. They were recording me. They were coming up. They were like getting all these angles and like taking all these snapshots, panoramic shots, all of these things. Like they've never seen me before. And, let's be real here. I was a little bit lit because why not? It's your birthday. So I was a little bit lit. I wasn't too lit, which was great. But, I just remember like looking at them being like, far out, I'm so blessed. Like, I'm so blessed to have that. And I remember coming off stage and we were just chatting and laughing. And my auntie said to me, my auntie Gally, she goes, you have some really amazing friends. And I was like, oh, auntie, stop. Like, ha, ha, ha. Like, me and the girls are laughing. She was like, no, I know. Like, you have some beautiful friends. And she brought that up to me. She was like, they were watching you. They were cheering you on. Like, they've never seen you before. Like, you have some beautiful friends. And I just thought, that is actually a beautiful compliment. Not just for myself, but how blessed are we to have the people around? And I think about my girls, and I think about everything that they're doing. You know, one of them is a pharmacist, intern pharmacist, and the other one works in IT. I have another one who's still studying to become a psychologist. Another one who's working down in Queenstown with Wet Jacket Wineries. Like, we're all doing so many different things, and it just makes me so proud of them. So proud of them. And yeah, just coming back to what we talked about before, you are who you hang around. You are. Like, if you are with people that are talking about how to be better and how to, you know, starting a business and moving away. Like, one of my mates, she's going to Aruba, like always wanting more for yourself and wanting more of life. Of course you will want more of life, because you're hanging around people that are constantly wanting to be better.
Aspirational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't want to stay in the same place. Don't want to just be like, oh yeah, I'm happy with this. You know, if you want that, all good. That's all good. But for me personally, I don't want that. I want more. I want more life than I already have. I want more. And to be surrounded by women, amazing women that want the same thing, amazing.
No, absolutely.
Hands down, no words, just beautiful.
Honestly, I've realized, just, you know, in the last kind of year and a bit, I've just realized how good some of my close friends are. And honestly, it's like a second family.
Yeah,
it really
absolutely.
is. It's that common phrase where, like, blood's thicker than water, but mud's thicker than blood. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you know, somebody like our great friend, shout out number 2, Te Horere, the best. She just messaged me yesterday out of the blue, and she was like, "I think you need to be clearer about when the podcast drops, so you can market it better." And for somebody to go out of their way because they've had a thought on what I've, like, on my thing, and to make it better for me, that doesn't happen regularly.
Yeah.
It's a really special person. It's a really special, I don't know, I really treat it like a family thing, because then you realize that people like that want the best for you.
Absolutely.
And just want to see you thrive.
And we'll always have good intentions for you.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and you know, we both know sometimes it's, even though you can have good intentions, it doesn't always come out the best. And that's okay. But if you go back to the intention was always good.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's sometimes what you have to remind yourself of, even if, you know, whatever could be happening, the intention was always good. And I think, you know, talking about family, I have to acknowledge my family, because I love my family. Like, hands down, my family is like everything to me. You know, they really have shaped me into the woman I am today. Like, no lie, they really have. And I mean, when I say my family, I don't just mean, you know, my immediate family. I mean my whole family. You know, like, I have a huge family that isn't even my family, family that isn't even blood, but they are my family, and they have known me since I was born, and we have these relationships. Like, if I think about, so for those who don't know, I am one of 4. I'm the youngest and only girl. I have 3 older brothers. Yay. And 2 of them are a lot older than me. They're like mid-30s, and I'm obviously 23. So having 2 brothers, and I have Hayes, who is 24. He's only a year older than me. Having 2 older brothers was honestly like having 4 parents. Like, growing up, I felt like I had 4 parents. And at the time, being young, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so annoying, you know, because you always have your parents watching you, and as they do. But then I had 2 more that were guiding me through, and they would take me to school, and they, you know, now I look back at it, being a little bit older, I just think, far out, I was so blessed. And I'm still blessed. Don't get me wrong, I'm still blessed to this day. I'm so blessed, because they have gone through things. They have done things that I haven't done yet. You know, they have been 23. They've been 24, 25. They've gone out. They've done the stuff that I'm only experiencing now. And, like, I'm so thankful for everything that they have taught me, everything that they still continue to teach me. And my mum, absolutely. And my mum, like, she is such a strong woman, and, not going to lie, as mother and daughters do, we do clash sometimes,
Of course.
but it's natural. I think it's only natural,
Yeah.
like, and I was reading a book the other day. I can't remember what it was, but, it was something to do with, like, your mother, you have only known your mother as long as you've been alive. But your mother has had a whole life and has had all these other things before you. And she has done all these things before you were even born.
Oh, yeah.
And thought of. So you only know your mum for as long as you have been living. And to me, like, yes, that's logic. Like, okay, I know, of course. But when I thought about it, I was like, whoa.
There's a whole life experience that you just...
that we don't even know.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. Like, I just think that's such a buzzy thing to think of. Like,
I know. I think my parents have just done the best, and they always make the example. They've never hid anything from us.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever there's like conflict,
Yeah.
Not necessarily like at home or like just in whatever they do in their business.
Mm-hmm.
They never hide it from us. And when I was younger, I was like, why are you burdening me with all of this shit?
Yeah.
I don't want this.
100%. Yeah.
I'm a kid. I just want to
be a kid.
I just want to do my shit.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, we're teaching you.
Mm-hmm.
We are making these mistakes so that you can learn from us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now that I'm way older,
yeah,
I'm just like,
Thank the Lord. Yeah.
yes, I understand now. Mm-hmm. And I can't thank them enough for it.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And like you said, of course there are clashes. They're bound to be. That's just the way it works.
And that's family.
Yeah. And it's also just our own evolution. We grow. We come through our parents.
Yeah. 100%.
And it's only right that we evolve.
Yeah.
And don't agree with them. Mm-hmm. Because the way I talked about this with my mum, I was like, the way that you and my grandmother grew up was very similar. Mm-hmm. But the way that your generation and my generation has grown up is vastly different.
Oh, absolutely.
And of course, there are huge differences between the way that my grandmother and mum grew up. But for the most part, it's a similar kind of structure. But the way that we're growing up with all of this other stuff around us, we have so much more input in our lives. And that will change
and influence.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's going to change.
Shoe fly.
And that's going to change how we look at the world because it's at our fingertips. And it wasn't for my parents and my grandparents all the time.
100%.
And also, I was explaining this to my... I have a friend that I work with, and he's an artist. Mm-hmm. And, he was... I won't say his name, but he's having some, parental family issues. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I think a lot of parents struggle if they aren't, in that mindset. If they have a creative child,
yes,
they won't necessarily understand your mindset a lot of the time, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But once you clock that, your relationship with them might be a little bit better. Yeah. Because you're able to kind of look objectively at the situation and be like, oh, they don't understand because my mindset is this way. Mm-hmm. And I look at the world in a different way than they do.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's like a really important thing, especially for artists and creators, if you ever have.
No, I totally agree with that. Like, I think even just being a creative, that actually just took me back. I just remembered something. I remember being at uni and thinking to myself, I am not enjoying this. And I wondered, I was like, why am I not enjoying this? It's not the workload because, I love to sing. I love to perform. It's not that. And then I realized that it was because I didn't get to create, and I remember always being like my exams or something, I wasn't told off or anything, but my exams, it would always be like, oh, you added another crotchet when there was no crotchet. And I was like, did I? But it's because I was wanting to create. I was wanting to make something different. I didn't want to sing the same thing. like over and over again, that and I know that's what classical music is, you know, and that's beautiful in itself, but I think I wanted to create so bad, and I didn't know that's what it was. And I think, you know, seeing the world in a different lens, and seeing a world where I just lost my train of thought.
Crotchet, making music differently than what you're used to, and evolving from that.
Yeah, and evolving from that. And I think that's why I loved creating, you know, the songs of my EP. So I wrote Free Me and That's Love. I wrote That's Love with my uncle, but Mother's Love was actually written by Mo, my brother Mo. And when I first heard it, I was like, wow, this is such a beautiful song. And I instantly, because I am a mother, you know, I instantly thought about cover. And I was like, whoa, this is such a hefty song, like for me personally when I heard it. And then I would think about my mum and her mum and her mum's mum. Like it was a whole generational thing when I was thinking about it. And I think I don't know. I think it's a really, at first I wasn't opposed to it. Like I absolutely loved it, but I, for some reason, found it hard to connect with the song. Even though I instantly thought of cover. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a mother. And I thought it would be super easy for me to just check into that mindset and be like, okay, you know, let's sing this song, let's sing it. But it actually wasn't easy. And still to this day, like I can't actually pinpoint why it wasn't easy for me. Maybe it's because I didn't write it. Maybe it's because, you know, like these words were so beautiful and I felt like, am I singing it nice enough? If you know what I mean? Like, am I singing it good enough? You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But now when I look back at the song, I'm like, whoa, what a beautiful song, you know? And it's not big ups to me, it's big ups to Mo. Like, he is such a phenomenal writer. I'm so inspired by him. Like, he really helps me with my songwriting. Like, he really, really does. And even when I'm showing him all the work that I've done, I'm like, okay, like I've done these lyrics and I think they're really cool. I think they're amazing. And then I'll show him and he's like, maybe not. Like, because I have been writing quite literally. Like,
yeah.
The cat jumped over the fence. You know, like, he's like, can we say that a different way? And I'm like, can we? I don't know, because in my mind, I literally cannot. I can't see another way to say
like the cat another jumped, abstract way. Yeah.
The cat jumped over the fence. Is that it? Like I don't know. So, and I think that's all a learning curve. You know, writing is such a learning curve, and I just think if anyone out there is wanting to write, it's okay if you're starting to write literally, because I am.
Yeah.
I am too. You know, and I'm still trying, and I think I will forever be learning to, you know, better my lyrics.
How many songs did you write before your first single dropped? And how did you know that was going to be the single that you wanted to release publicly?
I didn't. I didn't know that was.
I knew that was going to be your answer, you know, so I want to talk about that a little bit.
I did not know. I had no idea. I actually wrote a few songs. I wrote a few songs before that. Probably, there was actually about the ones that we have recorded already, or even just rough demos. There've been about 8 or 9. And there've been maybe 5 or 6 that I never recorded that, you know, still back in my mind, you know, in the good old voice memos.
Yeah.
Voice recording on my phone and just in my songwriting book. And it was kind of sifting through, like, which path do I want to go? Because some of them were very R&B, some of them were very soul. And so we kind of sat down. So my Uncle Morris, who is another one of my biggest inspirations, not just musically, but just life-wise. You know, like he's such an amazing person. I don't want to get into him because, you know, I don't want to get emotional, but I love Uncle Morris so much.
Yeah.
And anyway, so we sat down together at his house, and I remember sitting on the table. There's his dining table that we're sitting on, and we're having a few alcoholic beverages. And it was a Sunday arvo, and we were sitting there, and he was playing at the table. He was like, hey, what about this? What about this song? And we were sifting through all of them, and I was like, okay, we really need to decide, like, which ones we're going to take through, because they were all beautiful, but very different, you know, and somehow, because I wanted to release the EP, somehow they all need to connect, you know, even just a little bit. They don't have to be exactly the same. And like some songs were out here, some of them were like just super different. And so we played Free Me, and I was listening, and I was like, okay, next. Like instantly, I was like, next, thanks. But then I thought, am I saying next because I've heard it so many times?
Yeah.
Am I desensitized to it? I think that's what's happening here, because when we finally sent it off, so I sent it off to my brothers, Mo and Hires, and I let them have a listen, and Jack, he had a listen as well. And I was like, which one do you think? And they actually scored them. They all scored them from like 1 to 8 or 1 to 10, however many there were. And most of them came back with Free Me. They were like, that's your strongest song. And I thought to myself, I was like, really? Really? Like, but I just didn't see it. Not that I didn't love the song, but I was like, okay, yikes. Like, that is not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
All good, though. And then when I listened to all of them, I remember sitting in the studio, because we recorded at Parachutes with Christian, Taranda Winata. I think I said his name right. I think so. Yeah, anyway. So I was sitting there, I was like listening to them with him, me and Uncle Morris, and I was like, okay, I like this one. I like this one. And so anyway, we came to the decision to release. It was actually funny, I may add as well, because I wasn't actually supposed to release Mother's Love. There was actually another song that we were supposed to put out, which I had written. It was called Surrender.
Yeah.
But then we changed the name. Mo came up with the name White Lies. And we were going to release it. That was all set to be released. I was like, yeah. And then I remember sitting in the studio with Mo, and he was just like, it's just not fitting. And I was like, yeah, I feel it. I feel like it's just not fitting. It's just, and you know, some songs you will record and be like, yeah, that's amazing. Like, woohoo, like next song. And then you come back to it and you're like, yikes,
It's not part of the, yeah.
That is like not.
This is not part of the story that I'm telling.
Yeah, it just did not fit, not just musically, but lyric-wise, it was just not there. And so we recorded Mother's Love, and we were like, yeah. And then I didn't even realize until, you know, when it came down to crunch time, that I had Mother's Love and then That's Love. And I was like, why did I do that? But it's because I think, like, when I think about my inspiration for not just writing, but singing, is love. And we can talk forever about love.
Oh my gosh.
Love.
That's the, well, at least for me, that's the backbone emotion for this.
I feel you, Dal. That is it for me. Like, love for me is like, oh my gosh.
Oh, dude.
It's all types of love.
Yeah.
And like, that's where I got the inspiration for That's Love, the song. It's featuring my dear friend, Ivan Fuima Ono. And if you knew Ivan, he is like such an amazing person. Like he's like a teddy bear. He is so full of love and kindness, and he's just always happy, and he's just a beautiful man. Anyway, so when I was writing the song with Uncle Morris, I was like, I want it to have a feature, and there is no one else that I could imagine singing that but him, because he is the epitome of That's Love. Like, he's just a beautiful person. Anyway, I remember trying to write the song, and I was just like, what am I writing about? Like, I don't even know what to write about. I want to write about something that's relevant. And I remember sitting on my bed in my room, and I was like, okay, think, Anna, put your thinking cap on, knock on the noggin. And I had like Kava and my nieces and nephews like running through my room, and then my auntie coming in to hang up the washing, and then I had one of the girls trying to call me on my phone, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is all so busy. And then it was like, ding, a light bulb moment. That is love.
Yeah.
That is love, like right in front of my eyes, and I didn't even see it. I had been trying to write that song for like a week and a half, and it just wasn't coming to me, and then it was right there the whole time. You know, like when you say the word love, some people go straight to romantic love, and they go straight to boyfriend and girlfriend and getting married and having babies and all of that stuff. And don't get me wrong, that's love.
Yeah.
But love can come in so many different shapes and forms, and so often we look past that because it's all around us. And yeah, that's love to me.
Yeah. I think, oh, dude, that emotion is just the backbone to, I don't know if it's the same for everyone, but for me, it is the, like,
yeah.
My teacher, Tioti Rakana, shout out,
Beautiful man.
said that he's, oh, Sid, you know, just, I was thinking of ideas for my recital at the end of this semester coming, and he was like, I don't know, but for as long as I've known you, you've just been a little boy in love. I was like, okay, thank you.
Thanks for that.
And cheers. He's not wrong, though. Like,
Yeah.
it's just that emotion for me brings out the most
Yeah. I feel
in the music.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just...
and I'm the same.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, you know, if I think about our friendship, I think I didn't actually know you.
No.
Like, I actually never actually knew who you were at all. And it was always passing. It was always either with tea or, you know, bumping into you and be like, oh, hey, Sid. Or like, oh, this is Sid. I'm like, oh, hey. But I always remember, like, every time I would leave you, like, or, you know, our groups would pass or whatever we were doing, if it was a gig or whatever. And I would always think to myself, man, he's a cool dude. Like, I don't always think, there was something that I feel like, I don't know, I was drawn to you and I didn't know what it was. And I know what it is. I think it's that. I think it's that love aspect, that we hold love at such a high realm. Like, it's like top tier for us. Like, above all, whatever happens, we will always have love.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm a firm believer of that. And it's like, you know, Valentine's Day has just passed.
I
did not have a Valentine's. But to me, I loved the day anyway because, and yes, I know, you know, everyone's like, oh, it's just a commercial business. Blah, 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 blah. And I get it. I get it. I understand. But for me, I'm like, it's just another day to love even more than we already do. And I loved it.
Yeah.
I woke up and I got covered like a little chocolate rose.
Oh.
Like, and I was just like, happy Valentine's Day. You know, and I didn't want anything in return. I didn't want anything. To me, it was just like, how beautiful that we get to, you know, accentuate love even more than we already do.
Yeah.
And I think whatever you go through, whatever happens, whoever you meet, wherever you go, you'll always have that. You will always have love.
Yeah. I think appreciating when it's not the romantic love is super important.
Oh,
you know what
100%.
I mean? Otherwise, I went through this. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be single forever.
Yeah.
But then, you know, hanging around with people like T and you know, the boys, Sam, who just got married as well.
I know, I saw that. Congratulations, Sam.
Yeah, man, like, love them and, like, love all the boys, Ben, Chris, Alex, all of them. And, you know, that's... When you start appreciating those kind of, like, your family as well, when you start appreciating that, you realize that it comes in other forms.
Yeah, and how special it is.
Oh my gosh.
Like, how special it really is. And, like, you know, in terms of when we're talking about relationship, like, if you're in a relationship or a budding relationship, whatever it is, and so often, like, you know, when we were younger, it's like, oh my gosh, he makes my heart, like, skip a beat, and like, I've got butterflies and you know, all of that stuff, which is, don't get me wrong, that's beautiful and it's exciting and it's thrilling, amazing. But at some point, you kind of, I don't want to say you don't want that, because some people still do, and that's amazing for them, but other people want to be calm in love, and other people want to be secure and feel just feel really calm in love. And I think that it took me to another, it made me think about love in a different way. You know, that love isn't always, you know, exciting and like, I can't stop thinking about him. And when will it's not always that, you know, it's sometimes you meet someone and it's just, you're just in love, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Oh my gosh. We could talk about this for yonkers and yonkers and yonkers. Just that emotion specifically.
Right,
but I'm going to bring you around completely 180.
You take the train. Take the wheel.
When I told my parents that you were coming to film the podcast, they're like, "Oh, who is she? We've never." I was like, "No, you've never met her." They're like, "Oh, what does she do?" And I was like, "Okay, this is the only way that they're gonna understand who this person is." I was like, "Okay, this is Moses' sister that is coming. Like, we're friends. She's coming to do the podcast." My question to you is, of course, I've written in here.
Yes.
I knew you before I ever met Moses, and because of that, I kind of view you guys as separate individuals.
Yes, yeah.
That I now know are related.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, like, for you, do you ever, I would imagine that a lot of people would be like, oh, Anna, Moses' sister, instead of Anna, singer-songwriter,
Yeah.
individual entity.
Yeah.
Do you ever get that, or what's...
Do I ever get
Oh,
that?
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, let me tell you, Dar. Let me tell you. I get that question a lot.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore, but I used to get that question a lot, especially when I was in high school. And, if we think about Sulu Meal, I'm pretty sure, I think most said 9 or 10 years now that they've been together. And so, I would have been 13 at the time. That's, I don't know how, that's like year 8, year 9. So that is like the start of college. Pretty much my whole college life has been, that's Mo's sister, Anna. That's Mo's sister, Anna. And I can honestly say, like, a hand on my heart, I can honestly say, it has never been annoying to me.
Yeah.
It has never. And it's not because, I want people to know who I am. Let's be real. It's nice for people to know who you are, especially in a room where you feel like people don't know who you are. But my thought around it is I literally have been so proud of my brother. I have been so proud of my brother, watching him. Like, it, makes my stomach feel sick because I'm, so proud of him. And I probably don't tell him enough that I'm so proud of him because I remember one of the shows I went to, I think it was last year in Dunedin, because my uncle lives in Dunedin, and he sung a song by himself at the Sulu Meal concert. I think it was The Scientist, and it was the first time that I fully broke down while watching him. I was like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. Just you as a performer, and I think it's because obviously he's my brother. I know him as my brother, but as a performer. And also me being a performer and wanting to get into that myself, that is so amazing. And I remember this lady coming up to me afterwards and she was like, oh, you must be so proud. Somehow she already knew who I was. I don't know, because I have never met her before. She's like, oh, you must be so proud as a sister. And she, weirdly enough, asked me the same question that you asked me. This lady I'd never met before, keeping in mind. But I was happy to have a corridor with her, because why not? And I said the same thing to her. I was like, I am so proud. And, I would never get sick of and sometimes I feel like it's not so much anymore, but in the past, people that I've just passed by or school or whatever, it's they want me to say, oh yeah, I hate being his sister. It's like they're looking for that. That's kind of what I had felt. They want me to be like, yeah, I've really struggled growing up in the limelight. No, I haven't. It's not like that. And it's never been like that. I'm always so proud to be a sister. And now, I know when I'm doing these gigs, and he always loves creates opportunities for me to come and sing, and he always introduces me as an artist. And I remember the first time he said it, I was like, oh, I was like, oh, yes I am. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not just his sister. I am a sister, obviously, but I am an artist. I am my own person. I have my own voice, my own soul, my own being, my own presence. Do you know what I mean? And he really pushes that. He's like, this is Anasetasia. Now, that is the name that I've chosen. For those of you who don't know, my name is Anna, obviously. And a lot of people still know me as Anna. But I have gone with Anasetasia, which is my full name. And when he introduces me, on stage, it always makes me feel like, oh gee. You know, because he's really pushing it. And I love that. And I'm super grateful for that. But yeah, that's a long answer to your question that you just asked me.
That's, I think, a really great answer, because I think a lot of people would have been like, oh no, God, yeah.
Yeah, it's that's what they're looking
person,
here. I'm me. I want to be me.
Yeah.
And that's natural. I was a teenager when all of that happened, so it's natural to feel like that. But I honestly, I just never did.
But also, I think it's also just that's also part of you as well.
Yeah. And yeah, and again, that's just me as a person. I'm just just so blessed,
Yeah. And, it's so great that he's able to look at you in that way as well, as an artist, and, appreciates your own journey.
Yeah.
Things like that. Yeah, I know. I was talking to my parents about it as well this morning when I told them, and I was like, my sister is the exact same thing. She's more than happy to do that. And she's easily my number one fan, even though she drives me nuts.
Yeah, well, I mean? As they do.
Yeah.
I'm sure I drive all my brothers nuts.
Yeah. Oh, wow, man. I've got there's so much stuff, so much input.
I know.
It's been so great. What do you want to talk about?
There's just too much to talk about.
I know.
As you say, like, I don't know. Like, I think, what a beautiful day. I'm just looking outside. What a beautiful day, first of all. I think, when you asked me to do the podcast, like, that's exactly where my thought went. Was like, what the hickory dickory dock do I talk about? Because there are so many things to talk about, and there's so many, it's not just things, but it's things that will lead on to other things.
Oh, yeah.
And anyone who knows me knows that I'm a talker. I talk all the time. But I also, like, things just come out. Like, you will stay on one path, and then somehow you will end up to my shoe size or something like that. Something totally out of it. But I think, what I wanted to touch on was something that I always tell, the younger generation, like my younger nieces and nephews, and especially my niece Terila. And I talked to you about her voice. She's 16. She goes to Pompelia up north. Pompelia College is a Catholic college. And me and her, we have such a funny relationship because, she is my niece, obviously, but she's like a sister as well. And she's like a daughter as well. Like, we have all these different aspects to our relationship. And I think I never really appreciated how cool it was, like, to have that with her. Like, and I think, there are so many things that you can tell someone. Like, if someone were to ask you, what would you tell your 16-year-old self? What would you what would you do differently? What would you want to change? And I think to myself, I don't, because it's like I can tell her. Like, it's like she's like a 6-year-old myself. Like, and one of the biggest things that I always think about, when someone tells you something, they're like, oh, don't do this. And I know, especially with Kava, like, when I tell her, oh, Kava, don't do this, and, like, say she'll continue to do it. And I think to myself, why did you do that again? Like, if I told you not to, but then I think it's because I didn't tell her why. And I didn't tell her why you shouldn't do this. And that's something that I have definitely gone back and forth with myself, as I'm getting older and stuff, when I do things or when I make decisions, and I'm like, maybe if I had told her why, maybe if I had told her, oh, don't do this, Kava. And that's the same with Tabila. Like, Tabila, don't go here. Auntie Anna, why? Because of, so-and-so, A, B, C, D, E. And if you don't tell her, a part of me, and I know I did as a teenager, a part of me does it anyway because you don't know why, and you want to find out. And, people will say, you need to learn for yourself. You need to let kids and teenagers learn for themselves. Yep, you're correct. But I feel like if you tell them the truth, you don't have to tell them, like, the full, like, oh, because this and this and this and this and this, and it will lead to this. But if you just tell them, don't do this because it could lead to this, that could actually change their path.
Yeah.
That could actually change their pathway for life, actually, because you have given them an insight that they didn't know before. And if they still choose to make that decision, that's all good, because that's how you learn. And I wish I had known that. I wish I had known that as a teenager, but,
Oh my gosh. My sister and I are, like, really different in that way. Like, I've always been a person of, like, I know a bullet hurts, so I don't need to get shot to know that a bullet hurts. But she's the opposite. She'll, like, test to get shot. To be like, oh, how much does it hurt? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she kind of gets herself in these, like, pickles a lot. But she's just such, like, she does so because she's just such a loving person. She doesn't mean anything bad, but she's not like a hooligan or whatever. But, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's really, like, everyone's so different in the way that they experience things. And I feel like it might just be like an older sibling, younger sibling kind of thing. Like,
maybe. I mean, I don't know. I was having this conversation with one of my best mates, Helena, on the drive here, and she always calls me a menace. She always calls me a menace. She's like, Anna, you're such a menace. And I was like, I am. And I know that I am, and I totally hear what you're saying with your sister. Like, you can tell her as much as you want. You say, don't drink that water. Don't drink that water. Why? Because it's poison. Let me drink the water, because I need to know how much poison there is and I need to know how it feels, so I can't do it again.
Yeah.
And, I used to think it was such a bad thing. I used to think, oh my gosh, why am I like that? Why do I have to try it myself? Why can't I just listen from somebody and be like, okay, Anna, you don't have to do it. No, not me. I will literally drink the whole glass and be like, oh, okay, so I can't drink the water because it's going to give me a sore stomach. It's like you need to feel it for yourself. You really need to feel it in order to really not do it again.
I think there are good and bad things in both of those. Like, I guess if you're in that situation, or like you have that temperament is the wrong word, but that kind of way, that outlook on life, I guess, you are less fearful of experiences. Yeah. Whereas if you have my disposition, you don't get into situations as much, which might, benefit you. If you just take the risk, it could, put you in the, bring you great benefit. Yeah, for sure. But you're so worried about it doesn't. It also doesn't.
Let's acknowledge that part.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess you're more fearful to take the jump.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what
Before
I mean?
you even get there.
Yeah.
So there's actually no risk of anything bad happening because you've stopped yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, I honestly, everyone who knows me knows I'm like that. I'm also very impulsive. Yikes. And I sometimes don't appreciate that of myself. I'm like, Anna, why do you have to be like that? But then other times, I'm like, I love that about you, Anna. I love that you can just go. Like,
just do it. Yeah.
I had literally just thought of a funny story. So New Year's, I was on Waiheke Island because my family lived there, and it's actually my brother's birthday on New Year's Day. So we're having a few drinks, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go over to the other side because one of my best mates was having a party, Karen, on the North Shore. So I thought, let me jump in the car. So I did. Not the car, on the ferry. Jumped on the ferry, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to have a good time. It was about, 10:30? I got off the ferry, waited for my Uber. Great, the Uber was here. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a great time. I'm going to go straight to the party. Yoo-hoo, it's going to be 2022. I jumped on the Uber, and we were having a good old yarn, and I saw that he had a rosary bead. I was like, oh my gosh, you Catholic? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, so am I. Having a chat, he was like, oh, I wish I could go to midnight mass, but I can't because I'm working. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry that's the case, So anyway, I don't know why. I don't know what was in me, but I was like, let's do the rosary. So we ended up doing the rosary together in the car, in the Uber, which was actually, and it's funny when I think about it, but it's actually a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Like, it was actually really nice to have this time with this person I don't even know. Anyway, it actually got worse from there because after we finished the rosary, he goes, you need to jump out. And I was like, what? We just did the rosary together. And he was like, I need to take my break. And I was like, why? Why would you pick me up if you needed to have your break? And he was like, you can wait for me. You can wait 15 minutes. And I was like, I need to go somewhere. Like, I need to get out. I need to go to, the shore. So anyway, short story short, I had to get out of the Uber. Like, I had, like, my bag. I had my box of, like, pals with me. That was the only pal that I had. And so I was like outside of the Uber, standing on the side of the road, like, what the hone heke just happened here? I was so confused, and I paused, and there was a car there. There was a car, and the group of Islander boys, and they were like, oh, you're right, sis? And I was like, no. I was like, no, I just got carried in my Uber. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, to end the story shortly, I ended up spending my New Year's with them. Like, these cool group of boys. I never ended up going to the party. I text Karen. I was like, I'm actually really safe. I spent the night dancing the night away with these random guys who actually looked after me really well. Yeah. Like, I never had to buy a drink. They were always, like, really protective. Just like my brothers. Like, I just felt like I was partying with my brothers, and we had such a good time. And that's what I mean. Like, that could have gone really bad. That could have, like, gone, bye-bye New Year's. But it actually, because I am who I am, and I take risks all the time, and I'm impulsive, it ended up being such an amazing experience that I probably will never forget. Like, it was so fun, and I think if I didn't take that risk, I would never have done anything I would have done that night. And it was just so fun just being free and, like, and dancing, and that's how I brought in the new year. And that's probably one of my best New Year's so far.
That's a good story. That's a hilarious story.
It was pretty funny. And I will never forget it, I don't think.
Wow. There's a lot of Yeah, that really, that's a beginning, a middle,
Don't
and an
recommend.
end.
I would be safe. If anyone else is wanting to do that, you got to be safe. Like, I actually took a photo of the car and, I was like, who are you guys,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And weirdly enough, they actually wanted to show me their ID. They were like, oh no, we're safe, sis. And I did feel safe. And
Cool.
I like to think I have a really good intuition. Like, I can just feel, I don't feel safe, but I did. I instantly felt safe.
Yeah.
Like, instantly.
Sometimes you just know, eh?
Yeah, you just know. And I was taken care of the whole night. Like, it was just a beautiful, fun night. So be safe out there, everyone.
Yeah, be safe, team.
Yeah, be safe. You got to make good decisions. Be safe.
I think the last thing I want to ask you, and I asked this on the last podcast too, like, everyone comes into, like I said at the very beginning of this, everyone comes into this with their own perspective. Based off of their own experiences, both within the art form and outside of the art form. What do you think, or what would you like to see evolve in this art form, whether change completely or develop or anything like that? And this doesn't have to be just classical music or pop music, just, the creative arts in general. What would you like to see develop?
I think more. To have a very short answer, more of it. And more, not just more of it, but more importance of the arts, like, and not just, your typical singing and dancing, all the arts, as you were saying, like martial arts, any kind of art, that anything that makes people feel something. And I think, I know a few people were up in arms, you remember about they were not going to give any funding, and with all the gigs being cancelled, and it was so hard for, performers and musicians and dancers and all that stuff, all the gigs being cancelled. And I think I was fortunate enough that I didn't have any gigs, lined up. But it didn't mean that it didn't affect me, because it did. I knew so many people that had all their gigs cancelled, and I think it wasn't just sad. It was more like, but why are we even in this predicament? Like, yes, of course, COVID has happened. A lot of people cannot control that. It's not a choice that we've got, okay, let's just drop COVID here. It's not a choice, but it was more, we need to go back to the beginning and put more importance to it in the first place. So we wouldn't even be in this predicament where they could be like, oh, well, let's just pull the funding or whatever you're doing. And I think it's, I hope that it can be something that can be in schools, from the get-go. Like, when I took cover in for her school visits, they had a full music day for a school visit, and I thought that was amazing. And it wasn't just music, it was dancing, and it was they actually did a little bit of poetry as well, which I thought was really amazing, because I don't remember doing poetry like primary. Maybe I have bad memory, but I think it's just teaching the kids the importance of the music and dancing and being able to be in touch with your feelings. And I think short answer, just more of it, and more exposure for all of the arts on mainstream platforms. And that fly is just busying up in here. But yeah, I totally forgot what I was talking about, but
more of the arts.
Yeah, more of it, just more of it. And
more of the arts.
Yeah, I think, no, but I think that's it. Like,
yeah,
that really is
absolutely.
it. Like, just more of it, and just, as I said to you before, more importance to the arts and to dance, and more opportunities. I reckon, especially in schools. Like, I know the school that I went to, we didn't really have opportunities. Like, we did, don't get me wrong, we did. We went to Big Sing a few times. We did Polyfairs sometimes. Like, we did have it, but it wasn't something that was important. It wasn't something that, was like, oh, well, we've got this amazing thing going on. And I guess it's kind of which school you went to, because did you go to...
I went to St. Cairns.
St. Cairns, okay.
Different story.
Yeah. Say less.
Wow.
Why did I think you went to McLean's?
Because I live out here.
Oh,
I live out east.
Yeah. McLean's that we know. Okay, I don't know why I thought you went there, but anyway. Say less. Say less, buddy. Say less.
Cool.
Yikes.
No, look, hey, I'm really grateful to go to that school. I've been given a lot of opportunities that I otherwise wouldn't have.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great school.
I think, actually, now that we might as well talk about it now that we brought it up, and this can be our last point. But I think
there goes the water again.
Like I just said, I wouldn't have started singing if I didn't go to a school like that. And of course, there's a bunch of reasons for that. The number one being there's a lot of money that goes into places like St. Cairns, Dio, King's, etc. And I think my thing that I think I'd want to change is making it more accessible for schools that aren't as privileged as the one that I was lucky enough to go to.
Yeah.
Because there are so many onto it musicians. And I briefly taught at a school. And I was like, wow, some of these kids are actually really onto it. But the confidence isn't there.
Yeah.
And once you get it out of them, it's a completely different story.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they just haven't been introduced to it in a way that's...
that you think will guide them and be good for them, not for your average person. But, and in saying that, you just made me realize a point. Like sometimes the what they teach in schools, I mean, what the heck do I know? But from what I have observed, is very broad. And I guess you have to, because not everybody has the same talents. Not everyone learns the same way. But I think when it comes to the arts, it is going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
The way that someone sings is different. The way that someone dances is different. And if you're a dance teacher and you're just teaching ballet or you're just teaching jazz or whatever, what about the kids that want to learn hip hop or want to be exposed to that? And I remember being in high school and having my teacher, she is a classical singer, she's a soprano herself. She's amazing lady, and I benefited from it, greatly. But I remember one of my friends who was receiving the same teaching didn't, because she didn't want to sing that. She wanted to sing, like the soul and the R&B. And so she was kind of turned off from singing because it wasn't what she wanted to sing. And, now that actually makes me think that's what I hope in the future will change or improve. Like, you can't, as I said, you can't please everybody. You can't support every single student, but you can at least try. You can at least try to, and
just give them the opportunity.
Yeah, just give them the opportunity to hear it or to like try be involved in it without it being such a chore. Like I remember she would hate coming to like sing. She'd be like, oh gosh, singing lessons. All because she didn't like what she was singing. And she still doesn't. Like she still has never listened to classical music. She's still wanting to sing like the soul and the R&B. And that comes back to each to their own. Everyone has different interests. And it just happened to be that my interest was the same interest as a singing teacher.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think that's so important that you said that. And, I wouldn't have known that I loved classical music if I wasn't exposed to it.
Yeah.
And there are so many people that I think would be like that. Like maybe your friend would have loved jazz singing.
Or something else.
Yeah.
That wasn't that.
Yeah.
And I only hope, and this is, strictly speaking for music only, not the arts in general, but I only hope that there, if there is another girl or another boy in high school wanting to learn something different, that they are given that opportunity or at least that exposure to whatever they are interested in, not just one thing,
Cool.
But yeah, what do I know? This is just my perspective.
It's important. I mean, everyone's perspective's important, and like I said, we can all learn. And whether or not people want to take from it or not, that's totally cool.
Yeah.
That's their issue.
Yeah, that's a them problem. That's not us.
But I think what we talked about is actually really important for a lot of people. Not even just in this sphere of being creative or artists and singers and all that stuff. Just
life.
In general, people. And no, I'm really... Are you happy to wrap it up there?
Oh, I'm happy. I just hope
awesome.
that I know that sometimes I just talk.
It's been amazing.
It's been okay.
It's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Plug the EP.
My EP.
Yeah. Do it.
My EP is available on Spotify, Apple Music, all of the jazz. And go and have a gaze. Have a listen.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 music, guys.
Get to know me a little more than you have now.
Thank you so much for doing this, my friend.
You
really,
are so welcome.
Really
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Literally my pleasure.
Righto, cheers for listening, team. Goodbye.
Toodles.